Outsiders don't need to come to the funeral. On the night my kind father-in-law passed away, my mother-in-law insisted on a private wake. It's a family ceremony, so outsiders should refrain, she said, leaving all the care of my father-in-law to my husband and me. And remember, Dad's inheritance of $2 million is ours. My sister-in-law added. My husband was surprised. Brother, sister, what are you talking about? It's Dad's funeral, and about the $2 million. Irritated, my mother-in-law responded, We're not giving the inheritance to you, the youngest. You should renounce your right to inherit. I don't care about the inheritance, my husband replied. I added, Exactly, let us say our proper goodbyes to father-in-law. My mother-in-law glared at me. Why are you, an outsider, acting like family? By the way, Dad told the nurse to call you at the last moment. Could it be that you were having an affair with my father? My brother-in-law and sister-in-law chimed in with exaggerated disgust. You, dirty. Were you trying to seduce Dad to get his inheritance? Michael, you married a terrible woman. I clenched my fists tightly, hurt by their accusations. Understood, we won't attend the funeral, I said calmly. My name is Mary. I'm turning 32 this year. I met my husband Michael in college through a club we both joined, and we got married. I work in public service, and Michael works in an IT company. We both work and live happily together. Michael, it's about time to bring fresh clothes for your father, isn't it? All right, thank you always, Mary. On our day off, after doing some shopping, we headed to the hospital where my father-in-law was admitted. Michael, Mary, so nice to see you too, he said, smiling from his hospital bed. My father-in-law had a stroke last year and was left with paralysis on the left side of his body. Since then, he's been hospitalized and diligently undergoing rehab. It was quite cold outside, Dad. Take care not to catch a cold, my husband said gently. I arranged his clothes and the flowers we brought. Mary, Michael, thank you for always looking out for me. What are you saying, Dad? Don't worry about it. Yes, please let us know if there's anything else we can do. As we were having our usual conversation, the door to the hospital room suddenly opened and my mother-in-law, brother-in-law John, and sister-in-law Emily rudely entered the room. Oh, it's you, Michael, and what was your name again? My mother-in-law said conspicuously. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law chimed in. Hi, Mom, that's a bit much, don't you think? Haha, just because she's the leftovers brought in. That's right, her name is Maria, right? I kept silent, looking down. We had been married for 3 years, and I had met my mother-in-law numerous times. It was impossible that they didn't know my name. Hey, Mom, big bro, and sis, stop being rude to Mary, Michael said in an irritated tone. His mother exaggeratedly shrugged her shoulders. Oh, I was kidding. Why are you so mad? A joke? You guys always. Michael tried to continue, but his mother cut him off. Enough. We're going to have a family discussion now. You two are excused. We're family too, Michael protested, but his elder brother shooed us away with a dismissive gesture. You third wheels still want to hang around? Get out already. My sister-in-law giggled. Yeah, this discussion doesn't concern outsiders like you. Michael looked upset. He turned to me and said, Let's go. I bowed to my father-in-law, who was troubled by the situation, and left the hospital room with Michael. On our way home, Michael apologized to me. Mary, I'm truly sorry for my family's behavior. I shook my head and responded, No, you're the one who's truly hurt, aren't you? Michael managed a weak smile at my words. He was born as the third and youngest child. From what he had told me, his mother had always favored his older siblings and ignored him most of the time. His mother never attended his school events like parent-teacher conferences or sports days. While his siblings were always gifted expensive new things, he only got hand-me-downs that were old and worn. Even as a child, he had learned not to ask for anything. While his underachieving siblings were funded through private universities, Michael, who was a good student with good grades, was told by his mother to work after middle school and that she wouldn't pay for his tuition for higher education. Michael had to take up student loans and attend a public high school and a relatively inexpensive state university, where he managed to find his current job. When I met Michael's family for the first time after we decided to get married, his mother showed no interest. I don't care what you do, she said, not even offering us anything to drink. His brother and sister looked at me with amusement, making fun of me. You really must be a masochist to marry such a leftover. Haha, they teased. Absolutely, you must really have a peculiar type, his sister added. My husband has always been treated as an inconvenience to his family, a third wheel. This treatment didn't change even after we got married. We were consistently left out of family events such as weddings and funerals. As a result, we were later scolded by relatives for not showing up, asking, "Why didn't you attend?" But my father-in-law always had my back, Michael said, squinting his eyes. When I was a child, my father was often away on business trips and hardly ever at home. However, on occasions like Christmas and birthdays, even when I didn't receive a gift from my mother, my father always made sure to have something for me despite his busy schedule. He even took off work to attend my graduation. When we got married, he was the only one who seemed genuinely happy and blessed us. A kind father-in-law, always concerned about us. But to his wife and other children, he was merely a convenient ATM, treated callously. So when my father-in-law fell ill, it was us who took on the task of his daily care and looking after him. Michael, I promise to look after both you and your father, I told him, grasping his hand. Michael thanked me, saying, "Thank you, I really appreciate you." Months passed, and then we received a call from the hospital. My father-in-law had suffered a stroke again. By the time we arrived, it was too late. My father-in-law had passed away. Dad, I wanted to do more nice things for you and be a more devoted son," Michael cried out, overwhelmed by grief. Looking at his peacefully resting father, I too shed tears, remembering the kind words and smiles from my father-in-law. My mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law arrived, but they didn't shed a tear. In fact, they seemed in rather good spirits. "I can't be bothered, so you take care of the funeral arrangements," my mother-in-law said, pushing a funeral home brochure into my hands before swiftly returning home. Although we were stunned, we knew we had to send off my father-in-law properly. We immediately contacted the funeral home and arranged for the wake and funeral. Days passed, and after the wake ended and the guests had left, I approached my mother-in-law, now in her mourning clothes, about the arrangements for tomorrow's funeral. "Oh, don't worry about that. The funeral director will take care of it," she interrupted. Then she said something shocking. "You outsiders don't need to come to the funeral." "What?" Michael and I exclaimed in unison. Smiling slyly, brother-in-law John chimed in. "Thanks for taking care of Dad all this time, but we don't need you guys anymore. Don't come to the funeral." "What do you mean?" I asked, shaken. Sister-in-law Emily continued, "Exactly what we said. This is a family funeral. We don't need outsiders. Besides, Dad's $2 million inheritance is ours now." In shock, Michael asked, "Brother, sister, what are you talking about?" "It's Dad's funeral. And about the $2 million? Seemingly irritated, my mother-in-law replied, "We're not giving the inheritance to you, the youngest one. You should renounce your right to inherit." "That's selfish." "I don't care about the inheritance," my husband said, and I continued in a teary voice, "Exactly. Let us say our proper goodbyes to father-in-law." My mother-in-law glared at me. "Why are you, an outsider, acting like family? By the way, Dad told the nurse to call you at the last moment. Could it be you had a thing with our dad? You, dirty. Were you trying to seduce Dad to get his inheritance? Michael, you married a terrible woman." My brother-in-law and sister-in-law snorted dramatically in disgust. "Shut up. Mary is," my husband started in a voice tinged with rage, but my mother-in-law quickly interrupted him. "A woman who'd have an affair with her father-in-law and a low-life youngest son aren't family. Don't you dare come near us ever again." I clenched my fists tightly. To treat my gentle husband and father-in-law so poorly and even suspect an affair between my father-in-law and me. I couldn't believe such horrible people existed. Just as I was about to burst out in anger, my husband raised his voice. "Enough. How dare you insult Mary? She took such diligent care of him." "It's okay, Michael," I calmed my husband and spoke in a composed voice. "We understand your point. We won't attend the funeral." My husband followed soon, his voice trembling. "Yeah, we could no longer consider you family after being insulted like this. We'll pay our respects to Dad at his grave." Michael and I paid our last respects to my father-in-law and left the room. 2 days later, there were multiple missed calls from my mother-in-law on my cell phone. When I told my husband, he said he'd also receive some. There's no need to answer those calls. Let's just ignore them. Agreeing with my husband, I didn't pick up any of the calls. However, the calls didn't stop. A week later, just as I was thinking of blocking their numbers, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law showed up at our apartment. "What do you want now?" my husband grumbled. My mother-in-law began ranting, looking as if she'd seen a ghost. "We just found out that all of Dad's fortune is yours." "How is that possible?" Calmly, my husband replied, "Yeah, a lawyer came by and told us everything." In fact, the day after the funeral, a lawyer had visited us and informed us that my father-in-law had left a will, leaving all his property to us. We had already started the process of claiming the inheritance. You must have thought that as family, you naturally get a share of the inheritance, right? Under normal circumstances, you'd indeed be entitled to a certain percentage, Michael continued. That's right, and yet the lawyer said that we have no right to the inheritance, that everything will go to Michael. My mother-in-law raged. Michael and I calmly replied, "Of course." My father-in-law asked his lawyer to disinherit you all while he was alive. If inheritance gets abolished, you wouldn't even get the minimum statutory share. Then my brother-in-law, spitty with rage, lunged at my husband. "Michael, this isn't fair. The abolishing of inheritance isn't fair." Michael answered with a voice seething with anger. "Bro, weren't you constantly bad-mouthing our frail elderly father, saying he's useless and should be gotten rid of soon? Our dad kept a record of everything while he was alive." That's, stammered John. "And you were secretly using his bank account while he couldn't move, weren't you? That's a fine reason for disinheritance." "How do you guys know all that?" Emily asked, shocked. "Our father-in-law collected evidence and arranged for it to reach us and the lawyer," Michael continued with a look of contempt for his mother. "Did you know that a spouse who's been cheating for years can also be disinherited? Didn't you know that your suspicion about my father-in-law's affairs was because you were having one yourself?" Hearing our words, my mother-in-law's face gradually lost its color, turning pale. "It's all because of the terrible things you three did to Dad. It's too late to change anything now," Michael said grimly. Then my brother-in-law suddenly started begging, even prostrating himself on the floor. "Mike, please split the inheritance with me. I need money because my business failed." My sister-in-law also followed him, her face a mess of tears and snot, clinging to my husband's arm. "I apologize for everything. If my husband finds out about my debts, I'll be divorced." Looking down at them, my husband coldly dismissed them. "I won't forget what you guys did to us. I will never forgive you." Then my mother-in-law, stomping her foot in frustration, screamed out, "How am I supposed to live from now on? We're family, aren't we? Help me, Michael." Michael and I looked at each other and said in unison, "Family? Who was it that said strangers shouldn't come to the funeral? There's no way we're helping you guys. Figure it out yourselves," Michael said and shut the door on them. They continued to scream, but as soon as the property manager, who heard the commotion, came, those three shuffled away, tails between their legs. Shortly after, we received all of my father-in-law's estate and moved to a new place to prevent any further attacks, also securing our records. This is a story we heard from relatives. Afterward, my brother-in-law apparently begged relatives for a loan only to be turned down and ended up borrowing money from moneylenders. Now, he's being hounded by a group of tough-looking guys. My sister-in-law, her chronic debt finally discovered by her husband, was divorced and moved back home. Now she's reportedly working in a nightclub to pay off her debt. My mother-in-law, after being discarded by her gold-digging affair partner, has aged considerably. These three now live in a rundown one-bedroom apartment, barely getting by with the bare necessities, but it's no longer any of our concern. On the other hand, a precious baby boy was born to us. With the kindness that my father-in-law showed us, we now want to shower our son with love and live happily ever after.